Welcome to the Deep Dive, where we plunge headfirst into a stack of sources to extract the most potent nuggets of knowledge and insight, tailored just for you. Today, we're embarking on a really compelling journey. It's about the human spirit's capacity for connection, for insight, even in truly unimaginable circumstances.
Yeah, it's a deep dive into a very personal, very profound account of imprisonment. We're drawing from a rich collection of observations, experiences, reflections. Our mission really is to unearth what happens when everything, the very foundations of life, are stripped away. And, maybe surprisingly, how solace and understanding can pop up from unexpected places.
So not just survival, but connection, intellectual debate, even humor.
Exactly, even humor amidst extreme hardship. It's quite remarkable.
What grabs me right away is this central paradox you mentioned, the idea of a first cell feeling like a first love. That seems counterintuitive, to say the least.
It absolutely does. And the example given is the Leningrad big house during the blockade. I mean, picture this. The city outside is starving, people literally covered in this black crust from hunger.
Just horrific conditions.
Horrific. But if you were inside the big house, you were, relatively speaking, lucky.
Lucky. In prison.
Well, yeah. They got hot showers every 10th day, apparently, working toilets in the cells. And the food, while probably not great, was better than what people were getting outside in the starving city.
Wow.
So incredibly, it was known as the best place in Leningrad.
It's such a jarring starting point, isn't it? It really sets the stage for how extreme and contradictory these experiences could be.
It really does. Okay, so how does the author explain that feeling then, this first love for the cell, given, it's still prison?
Well, it's interesting. He's very clear it's not love for the dirty floor, nor the murky walls, or, the smell of the latrine bucket.
Of course not. It's for the people, for those fellow prisoners, and that's something which beat between your heart and theirs. It's that first moment you meet others doomed to the same fate. And these people, they instantly become your only family. It's in that shared experience, like shared humanity, that something starts to heal, I guess. It lets you rethink your entire life.
So it pulls you back from the brink after isolation.
Exactly. After the intense isolation, the interrogations, maybe even thoughts of suicide, like the account mentions, trying to use a radiator, suddenly there's connection, reason returns, these free-floating thoughts start up again.
That's a powerful insight into connection. Just that basic need blooming anywhere. But, okay, to really feel the comfort of that, we need to understand the torment it contrasted with.
Right, and the sources give us a grim tour of that torment. The conditions in these preliminary detention cells, KPZs, or DPZs they were called, were just incredibly varied and brutal.
Like the Archangel prison. Solitary red lead on the windows.
Yeah, imagine only seeing the world through this constant crimson light, with just a dim 15-watt bulb burning day and night. It's designed to mess with your head, your sense of time.
And Choi Balan, overcrowding.
Extreme overcrowding. 14 people crammed into 7 square yards for 6 months. They had to literally coordinate shifting their bent legs just to move at all. It wasn't about detention. It was about breaking people.
And the Fortovo.
Uh-huh.
Psychological cells, black paint, dim bulb, asphalt floor, and that noise.
Ah, yes, the noise. Cell 111. The heating valve was outside, controlled by guards, but the worst. This interminable, irritating roar from a wind tunnel nearby.
Making cups vibrate.
Making cups vibrate right off the table, apparently. Conversation impossible. You could scream and no one would hear you outside the cell.
Constant sensory assault.
Totally. And the sources say that when that roar stopped, the sense of relief was supposedly superior to freedom itself. That tells you everything about the psychological pressure.
But Sukhanovka, that was the worst. The legendary diabolical place.
That's the one whispered about. A former monastery used just for interrogations. The secrecy around it, near Lenin's estate. Very ominous.
And the specific torments there. Stand-up cells.
Yeah, these stand-up punishment cells. So narrow you couldn't stand properly. You had to sag, knees against the wall, for over a day sometimes. Just designed to break resistance physically.
And the food paradox. Good food, but tiny portions.
Right. Tender, tasty food from some nearby rest home, but one portion divided among 12 prisoners. So constant hunger, constant irritability, another way to grind people down.
Yet even there, that story about Alexander D. measuring the cell.
Incredible ingenuity, wasn't it?
Yeah.
He refused to just give in. He saw the numbers on his prison bolt, the 120, guess they were diameters, pulled the thread from a towel.
I made a tape measure.
Measured his cell precisely. It's an amazing act of mental resistance.
And the sleeping standing up.
Yeah, when some interrogator named Ryumin was keeping him awake for a month. A whole month! Alexander D figured out how to sleep standing, propped against a chair, fooling the guard into thinking his eyes were open.
Just to stay sane.
Just to keep his mind his own. It shows the mind really can be a sanctuary even when the body's trapped.
Amazing. Okay, let's shift to cell 67. The author's arrival after, 96 hours of interrogation?
Yeah, imagine that moment. The guard leads him down this silent corridor, unlocks the door, and he sees these faces. Unshaven, pale, crumpled, but so human, so dear.
And they immediately ask him,
Are you from freedom? And he thinks, after just 4 days, am I really from freedom? But compared to them, yes. And the information vacuum is startling.
they knew nothing about Yalta, the war.
Nothing recent. It's late February 45, and they're clueless about Yalta, East Prussia, Allied movements. He suddenly becomes their news source. They're hanging on every word.
Which brings us to that fascinating idea,
Yeah.
the spiritual sensor relay.
Right. The author describes it as this inborn trait, an immediate gut feeling about whether someone was trustworthy or, well, a stool pigeon.
Like the guy Gorky Carreno.
Exactly. Even before he really understood the concept of stool pigeons, this internal sensor just clicked, told him who to trust, who not to.
And it never failed him. Through years of prison, exile, underground writing.
Apparently not. He says it guided him flawlessly, let him be reckless in revealing himself to people without consequence. He wonders if we all have it, but ignore it in our rational age.
That's quite a thought. Does he say why it works or how it develops?
He suggests it's maybe forged in these extreme situations. Necessity sharpens it. When external cues are gone, you rely on this deep, intuitive knowing. And this realization right there in that first cell, it flips everything. A 180-degree shift in all our concepts. He sees prison not as an abyss, but as the most important turning point in my life.
Wow, a total perspective shift. And that shaped his daily experience. The rituals.
Completely. Daily life was regimented and often twisted. Light on 2047, for surveillance. Arms outside the blanket, that rule.
To prevent suicide.
Yeah, and trying to doze off meant punishment. Guards creeping in silently.
And the toilet trip. Once a day.
Just once,
Yeah.
6 a.m. Someone appointed as the latrine bucket bearer. But here's a weird detail. Sometimes they got pages from books, even classics, instead of plain paper.
As toilet paper,
Mm-hmm.
but also for reading.
Yeah, a means of acquiring knowledge, as he puts it. Imagine trying to read Tolstoy one scrap at a time.
Huh. And food. Always scarce.
Always. This unrisen wet bread distributed by lottery. Endless talk about food, memories of food, even though it was often banned. And the biologist, Tim Afefsky, getting genuinely outraged at guards spilling tea. Not just because it was wasteful, but the lack of professional pride. It shows the mindset.
What about the doctor? Not exactly a helper.
The accounts are grim, often seen as the interrogator's assistant, signing off on prisoners saying you can continue after beatings or freezing. Not a healer in this context.
And writing petitions.
Mm-hmm.
Pointless.
Pretty much an illusion of rights. Tiny paper, broken pens, diluted ink, read only by your interrogator, no real recourse.
But information still got around between cells.
Yeah, because prisoners were constantly shuffled, so news, experiences, conditions in other parts of the prison cellars, women's floors, it all circulated. People found ways to share information.
Okay, so let's move to cell 53. This was different. A palace chamber.
Relatively speaking, yes.
Yeah.
Described as having this incredibly high ceiling, like 16.5 feet, and a huge window.
Symbolic.
Mostly blocked by a muzzle, but still glimpses of sunlight could get in. He calls it a real ray of sunlight, a living, dear being. Just that little bit meant so much.
And the people in this cell, quite a cast of characters, starting with Fisenko, the old social democrat.
Anatoly Ilyich Fisenko,
Yeah.
63 years old, a keeper of the old Russian prison traditions, a living link to the past. He'd been freed by the Tsar's 1905 manifesto.
Which actually freed all political prisoners,
Right.
unlike later amnesties.
Exactly. He remembered prisoners smashing windows in joy, and he talked about how easy it was to escape Tsarist exile compared to Soviet exile. Even had that funny story about forgetting his fake name at the border.
Mr. Makarov.
Huh, yeah.
Yeah.
And he knew Lenin, Lunacharsky in Paris. Recalled it very casually, which kind of amazed the author.
What about his wisdom? Question everything.
Yes, powerful advice. Thou shalt not make unto thee any graven image and question everything. He knew why the old guard was eliminated, so we would not get together and discuss things.
And he chose a simple life.
Refused important posts. Said, you can't teach an old dog to live on a chain. Arrested later on flimsy charges, his past catching up, but still cheerful, still believed. For truth, you have to sit in jail. taught the author prison songs, an unbroken spirit.
Then there's the opposite type, ZV, the Soviet businessman.
Ah, yes. Short, stocky, bulldog's jaw. The new man forged in the 30s. Privileged, loyal, didn't care about suffering even his own workers if they were prisoners.
The war was good for him.
The best years, apparently. Used his swift, enterprising, business-like grasp to make wild money. Also kept account of his conquests. Stopped at 290 plus when arrested.
Why arrested? An anecdote and a gotcha.
Yeah, told some careless story and then refused to supply building materials for a prosecutor's dacha. Bad mood.
And the contrast.
Oh.
Ruthless guy, but then sobbing.
Exactly. Explosive sobs, intense self-pity, which led Arnold Susi to observe cruelty is invariably accompanied by sentimentality. A fascinating psychological point, that coexistence of opposites.
Speaking of Susi, the Estonian lawyer.
Arnold Susi. Educated, golden-tongued, multilingual, new European law constitutions, he brought that wider perspective.
And shared Estonia's story. Caught between powers.
Passionately talked about intellectuals arrested under Article 58-2, that catch-all for counter-revolution just for wanting national self-determination. He represented that tragic history of smaller nations.
And he mentored the author, broadened his views.
Yes. Patiently explained things like bourgeois democracy beyond the author's narrow Marxist lens, a real intellectual exchange happening right there in the cell.
Then Yuri Nikolichway, the disillusioned officer. His POW experience sounds brutal.
Horrific. 2 years near Vilnius, Soviet POWs treated worst of all because the USSR hadn't signed the Hague Convention or recognized the Red Cross, no protections.
Reduced to animalistic behavior.
Described as beast-like creatures, gnawing bones, smoking manure, just absolute degradation, and it shattered his faith.
Motherland had sold us.
Thrown us to the dogs. He felt utterly betrayed, led him to join a German espionage school just to survive, thinking they wouldn't betray Russians, but it was a trap. Rearrested by Soviet.
But still, that pull of the motherland. He defected back.
Incredibly, yes. When offered forgiveness, his heart flooded with warmth. He defected with the whole spy school. It shows that deep, almost irrational bond, like a toothache you can't ignore until the nerve is dead.
And he argued with the author about revolution and bedbugs.
Yes. Famous line. Before trying our hands at revolution, we should have exterminated the bedbugs in this country. Dismissed Gorky, too. A very cynical, but maybe understandable perspective, given his experience.
And finally, Emperor Mikhail.
The chauffeur.
Viktor Alexeyevich. Yeah, a truly bizarre story. Someone prophesied he'd be Mikhail, the Emperor of Holy Russia.
And he just went with it, because he knew leaders.
Kind of. Being near Blucher, Kaganovich made it seem less strange, perhaps. He wrote these naive proclamations. Abolish collective farms, raise wages, wipe the Kremlin from the face of the earth.
Did people turn him in?
Surprisingly, no. His fellow workers heard him and kept quiet, which maybe says something about the underlying mood. Interrogators were amused. He brought this odd lightness, shared potatoes from his mom, a tragic comic figure.
Amidst all this darkness and intensity, there were these moments of light. The roof walk.
Yeah, 20 minutes a day, a chance to see the actual sun, the sky, but also crucial for talking.
Safer from stool pigeons, from microphones, presumably. A place for dangerous subjects, and for mentally mapping the prison layout. A tiny bit of control, of freedom.
And the library, with forbidden books.
Another unexpected thing, Zamyatin, Pilniak, Mayakovsky authors you wouldn't expect. Probably confiscated private libraries, and maybe, as the author suggests, lazy and ignorant librarians who didn't purge them.
So it fueled debates.
Absolutely. Intense discussions, arguments, people from all backgrounds reading these potent books. It made the time pass. Even 16-hour days could fly by. An intellectual ferment in the least likely place.
And then, the end of the war. How did they experience that?
Gradually. Hints first. The blackout shade removed from the window. A strange silence in the city. Distant artillery salutes.
Until the final salute, May 9th.
Yeah, the big 40-gun salute for victory. But the feeling wasn't joy, it was bittersweet. The victory was happening out there, but as one prisoner wrote in a poem, it was not for us.
Their war wasn't over.
Their war wasn't over. The overcoats from the trenches were now on prison bunks. A really poignant, complex moment. Victory, but not freedom.
What an incredible journey through these accounts. It really shows, doesn't it, how people adapt, find meaning, connect, even when everything is against them.
It does. That even in a system designed to crush you, these profound insights, this resilience can just emerge.
It really makes you think, doesn't it? In our lives, with all our comforts and information overload,
Mm.
how do we cultivate that spiritual sensor relay the author talks about, that sense for truth, for genuine connection?
Yeah, it's a challenge. And maybe what free-floating thoughts might we allow ourselves if we weren't so constrained by our own routines or assumptions?
Exactly. What assumptions are holding us back? This deep dive really pushes you to question things about freedom, truth, connection, maybe even in our own seemingly comfortable lives.